Well, this is quite the party. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for our second press avail with our new superintendent. We are going to get started. We are excited. This is back to school season. As many of you know, the school year begins on Monday, so we have a lot of updates for you. Our superintendent will be sharing a lot of updates, and following her updates, we will open it up for questions. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome our superintendent up to the podium. Here.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us in our back to school press conference. I'm excited to provide updates about the work that we've done over the summer to prepare for about 112,000 students, hopefully more, to return on Monday. Before I begin, I want to welcome some special guests that we have in attendance. It's Robin Harvey, Vice Chair of the Board of Education. Christina Pumphrey, Board of Education member. Chair of the County Council, Julian Jones. And Senator Benjamin Brooks. Again, I want to thank you for joining us and for your unwavering commitment to Baltimore County Public Schools students, staff, and families. It is truly hard to believe that summer is just about over, and in a few days we'll be welcoming more than 111,000 students back to school. Students will come through our doors ready to learn, and we are thrilled to welcome them to our 178 programs, schools, and centers. Earlier this summer, I shared information about our Fast Forward transition plan, and after having many meetings and conversations with BCPS staff, students, members of the community, elected officials, and community partners, it is evident that those identified priorities are indeed where we must and we will prioritize our resources, investments, and supports to ensure success for the 23-24 school year. Those areas, again, are academic achievement, making sure that we are focused, data-driven, and research-based, instructionally sound resources, practices, and tools so that we can build teacher capacity, promote high levels of learning, and increase student achievement. Infrastructure, efficient, effective, responsive, and reliable systems that ensure smooth operations across all of Team BCPS. Safety and climate, ensuring that we have clear expectations, consistent responses, and shared accountability will protect and preserve safe learning environments. And finally, highly effective teachers, leaders, and staff. Refining efforts to recruit and retain a highly effective and diverse staff across Team BCPS. Baltimore County Public Schools has always had an outstanding staff, and this year is no exception. We're proud to welcome more than 750 new teachers, as well as all of our veteran teachers, leaders, and support professionals, all of whom make BCPS a great school system. School and central office leaders and staff have worked tirelessly throughout the summer to ensure that we are ready on day one. Not only are we ready for day one, but we're also confident that this is going to be a great year for our community. From free meals for all students, to reliable bus transportation, to school security and rigorous instruction, we are committed to ensuring a safe, welcoming, and supporting learning environment for all of our students. I'd like to share a few updates on key areas of summer preparation. First, recruitment and retention. We know that we can't do any of this work without staff. Our hiring efforts are year-round, and I want to thank our human resources team for their round-the-clock work throughout the year, and particularly over this summer as they fast-forwarded to fill the vacancies. I'm so excited to share that we're nearly 100% staffed, with just under 200 vacancies remaining as of the beginning of this week. The team is going to continue to move applicants through the process. They are working diligently to recruit candidates and get that number down to as close to zero as possible. For comparison, Last year, we opened the school year with over 380 vacancies, and the year prior to that, we were at about 306 vacancies. For any vacancies that we're unable to fill, schools will consider resource reallocations as well as other creative strategies to meet student needs. We're also continuing our work with Kelly Education, our partner agency, to place qualified long-term substitutes in our classrooms. It is extremely important to us that as students come back to the building, that they receive high-quality lessons every single day from the same teacher. We know that key recruitment and retention strategies include providing competitive pay, opportunities for growth and promotion, and supportive and inspiring climate and culture. We have been taking steps in the right direction because not only do we want to recruit the best and brightest to BCPS, but we want to keep them. We are invested in their success. As you may know, the new compressed salary scale that went into effect July 1st features increased starting salary that places BCPS second in the state, standardized step increases, and a 28-step scale from 29 that increases career earnings and allows teachers to reach the top of the scale sooner. We also have provided incentives to new special education teachers and teachers who commit to work at select high-need schools. Teachers who agree to transfer to one of our designated high-need schools for a minimum of 3 years are receiving a one-time bonus of $4,000. Special educators who join Team BCPS, as well as current BCPS dually certified teachers with special education certification who choose to fill one of those vacancies at any BCPS school will also receive a $4,000 signing bonus. In the area of curriculum and instruction, those who know me often hear me say that we as a school system exist to educate students, and we are holding ourselves accountable to getting results and making certain that we're meeting the needs of all students while eliminating disparities in achievement. We're doing this work in a number of ways, including the implementation of a new English language arts and math curriculum. For ELA curriculum, we believe this high-quality, evidence-based curriculum, known as HMH into Reading, is key to raising student achievement and literacy. All schools have received their student and teacher materials, including teacher guides, teacher big books, read-aloud sets, instructional card kits, and much more to be ready for our students on Monday. More than 2,500 teachers, as of yesterday, have received professional learning for the initial Getting Started training. An additional 1,400 students completed training that help them to prioritize their pace and plan instructions. For context, we have about 2,500 teachers who are responsible for elementary literacy in our schools. This also includes our ESOL teachers and our special education teachers. We will continue to have professional development opportunities in September to ensure that every staff member has an opportunity to participate in the initial training and continue to move forward. We've had 4 professional learning sessions for principals and assistant principals throughout the summer, and we'll continue to provide them with additional training as well throughout the school year. There is a robust professional learning plan to offer multiple opportunities to implement the curriculum with fidelity throughout the school year. For mathematics, this summer, in an effort to support teachers as they prepare our students to be college and career ready, we held our first Algebra 1 Summer Symposium. Over the course of the 5-day institute, Algebra 1 teachers were led through a trajectory of professional learning, beginning with the development of productive beliefs, learning about mathematics, followed by a focus on math content and practice standards. In the area of capital planning, thanks to funding from our state and county partners with the support of the board, BCPS is investing in projects that will improve learning environments for our students. For this school year, this includes 2 major projects. Barring any changes, we're scheduled to open 2 schools in January. Red House Run Elementary School with a state-rated capacity of 775 students, and Summit Park Elementary School with the capacity of 735 students. These schools will include 21st century instructional capability at the highest level of performance. They will also incorporate educational flexibility, supporting the current and future needs of our instructional programs and students and communities. Both schools are designated to be LEED Silver for environmental design. In the area of safety and social emotional mental health resources, we know that a big part of creating the most optimal environment for students and staff includes ensuring the physical safety of our students and their social emotional well-being. BCPS is committed to providing a safe and supportive learning environment for all students. This year, our new efforts include providing students with access to mental health resources. Part of this is through our Team BCPS Focus app and an updated code of conduct for students that provides an overview of our discipline procedures and protocols and the range of consequences students can face for violating various policies, regulations, and rules. Our student handbook also discusses the BCPS discipline philosophy and defines the various discipline responses. We're also very grateful for the continued partnership that we have with the Baltimore County Police Department and the work of our school resource officers. They all work together with us to keep our students safe. Last year, we implemented our new safety assistant program in all secondary schools. This year, we are adding an elementary support model. We are also leveraging new safety tools as a part of our comprehensive approach to enhance school safety. Due to the support of the Board of Education, we are happy to announce OmniAlert as the next step for Baltimore County Public Schools. OmniAlert is a weapons detection system that we will utilize in conjunction with our existing internal and external cameras to spot any type of firearms. If a weapon is detected by the system, an alert will be sent to designated BCPS, Baltimore County Police Department personnel, and other emergency personnel within seconds. OmniAlert will be deployed in all schools during this school year. We're going to begin with our high schools in September. More information is forthcoming. The area of transportation and our mobile welcome center. I'm excited to share that our Busware countywide implementation of the Parent Transportation app is coming soon. This is a location tracking software that allows subscribers to see bus locations in real time on mobile phones or on computers. Subscribers may opt to receive notifications such as the bus is approaching a designated stop or to find out if there's a delay. Additional information will be sent out to Team BCPS community the third week in September. And lastly, coming to a school community program near you, our new BCPS Mobile Welcome Center is fully operational. This Welcome Center provides services for families with students new to Baltimore County Public Schools who speak a language other than English. Staffed by members of the Office of ESOL, we are leveraging this center to provide direct services and supports to our schools, our multilingual learners, and their families. We know navigating a new and large school system can be challenging, and we want to ensure that from the very beginning, our multilingual learners and their families have equitable access to all specialized academic and non-academic programming. And with that, that is the end of the update. I will invite Ms. Onijala back up to facilitate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. We are going to now open it up for questions and answers. If you could please raise your hand and I'll walk around with the mic. And we ask that you stand as well so the cameras can capture your question. So, okay, I saw Superintendent's hand first.
You're going to hold it?
I will hold it, yes. I will hold it.
That's a rule.
Yes.
You mentioned about transportation. Some of us have heard that you've extended the walk to school from 1 mile to 1.7. And if so, has that been sent out to parents? And when did that come about?
Well, thank you for that question. I have not extended any walk to school, but for our non-transported zone, probably a little more than a year ago, When we were problem solving around some of the needs for Baltimore County Public Schools, one of the recommendations we received from the experts was to consider extending our non-transported zones. Make a long story short, we went through the policy changes that were necessary, and what's happening is for high school and middle schools, there's an increase of a quarter of a mile, so from 1.5 miles to 1.7 miles, and although we have the policies that were changed and approved, we are only beginning this school year in high schools. Next year is when we will do the implementation for middle schools, specifically around those high schools. When we looked at the numbers, because you can't just say 1.7 miles and make a blanket statement. We also add on that layer of safety. Even though these are our oldest students, we also want them all to get to school safely. And so there are extra steps that our Office of Transportation took in conjunction with our different partners to make sure that these were safe for students to walk that extra quarter of a mile. And so at the end, it ended up impacting 15 of our high schools, about 900 students, and so the Office of Transportation worked directly with schools to identify the students that would be impacted. A quarter of a mile is about one more lap, and then for schools to communicate directly. What we didn't want to do is to send out a broad communication, particularly since we were not moving anything for elementary schools, and the quarter mile change for middle school was not happening until the 24-25 school year. And so our principals in the 10 schools are definitely, in the 15 schools that are impacted are definitely committed to making sure that any student and family that needs this information, that they have it directly from them. And so they're working on that even as we speak.
How helpful has it been for you to have had been in the school system, to been the eyes and ears you've had, and be able to hit the ground running with this first back to school?
Extremely helpful. I think invaluable, both, as you said, doing the work as well as having relationships across divisions, departments, working with internal and external stakeholders since I've returned to Baltimore County going on 4 years ago. I think that's been incredible, and that's helped us to leverage that information to fast forward, that there wasn't this period of trying to get to know Baltimore County. Now, with that being said, you think you have some ideas about what the needs are. A lot of my work over the summer was getting out there, communicating with a variety of internal and external stakeholders to make sure that we were moving in the right direction. But thank you for that question. Absolutely, it's been of service.
Hi, I'm Liz Bowie from the Baltimore Banner. Just following up on what Tim said, we've also gotten a lot of communication and information that parents are very upset about this increase in, that they had buses last year and they don't have buses this year, and that the Focus app isn't working in terms of loading what they have or don't have. So I just wondered if the communication, if there's been some kind of breakdown in communication in terms of getting parents information.
Well, I'll tell you this. Anytime that parents are surprised by something, you'll always hear me say that there's room for us to improve communication. Now, with that being said, based on the number of students that are impacted, I have not heard of any widespread outages with Focus. It's certainly something I can take back to the team. I'm aware of 3 schools that are working directly with families to make sure that they have the information that they need, whereas the other 12 schools that are impacted, they have that information and have had it for some time. Happy to take that feedback, make sure that we're over communicating. But again, I think some people are hearing now that there is a change and, thinking that it may affect their student, where if they're an elementary school student, we have not made any changes in policy. And so there is nothing that's going to impact an elementary school. And even for our middle school students, we're not implementing this year. And as I stated before, only 15 of our high schools have some change, where the numbers are sometimes from the 20s, less than 100 at any school. But there's always an opportunity for us to over-communicate so parents have the information that they need.
And I assume this is because you've made this change to reduce the number of bus drivers you need?
So this was part of our comprehensive improvement efforts in transportation. So if you recall, about 2 years ago when we were having struggles with communication, we also had some experts provide us with some feedback, as well as different stakeholder groups with recommendations that we explored. And so part of that comprehensive package dealt with expanding the non-transportation zone.
Keeping with the bus driver theme, you mentioned teacher vacancies. How many bus driver vacancies do you have currently?
I want to say we have fewer than 50, but what I want to tell you is we have no uncovered routes. With our increased upgrade of the software, increased efficiencies with routings, there is no one's feverishly running around trying to figure out how we're going to pick up students. We are ready to go.
Don't have a question about the bus route, switching gears a little bit. But the most recent MCAP scores show that Baltimore County is near the bottom in proficiency for the state when it comes to English and math. Your cabinet doesn't include any new hires outside of the district. So what, if any, change do you expect will be able to come, since there isn't any new leadership, or I guess you could say new ideas or perspectives? And is that a concern at all?
That is not a concern. I have full confidence in the cabinet. What the cabinet does have, you have, I want to say, at least 5 former principals, and we represent from elementary school to high school, and many of us have also taught college. What we have is a commitment to identify, to focus on our specific areas of need based on our data. And so for us, that's obviously literacy, it's mathematics, it's meeting the needs of our students receiving special education, as well as meeting the needs of our students receiving ESOL services. And so moving to evidence-based curriculum, particularly in literacy, and we're doing a rollout in math as well. For our high school, we have the RFI out, for secondary, 6 through 12, we have the RFI out to make sure that we're aligned directly with our college and career readiness standards. And then the new one for elementary that is out now is 100% in alignment, absolutely targeting the science of reading. Our work is going to make sure that we are implementing with fidelity, that now that we have the right curriculum, now that we have a way to measure whether or not people are being prepared, that we are holding ourselves accountable for using the tools that we have, implementing with fidelity, monitoring the data in real time, and course correcting and adjusting as necessary, that we're not waiting for the MCAP scores to tell us how our students are doing. I can also share that our curriculum-based assessments, which are district-level assessments, those are also predictors. So they tell us in real time how are our students doing on the objectives that the teachers just taught. So we know that within the next unit, for these students sitting in these seats right now, not the next group, what do we need to go back and reteach? What do we need to go back and reinforce so we can continue checking along the way so that there are no surprises? So I have the utmost confidence in the team, and I also have the confidence in terms of the plan that we have put out there, that we've shared with our principals, with our central office leaders, and that we're going to hold ourselves accountable to, because we have to do this for our 111,000 plus students who need us to get it right. Thanks.
On that vein, I wondered if you could sort of break down again the numbers on training of teachers in the new curriculum. You said, and I didn't quite get it, there's 2,500 teachers that got professional learning this summer for getting started. So I wondered what the extent of that was, and was it for math or reading, science of reading?
So this is the new literacy curriculum. When you put together from K through 5, as well as special education teachers and ESOL teachers, we have almost 2,500 teachers of record who are responsible for teaching those literacy lessons. As of yesterday, because yesterday we had a professional study day, we are, I think, very close to 100% of those teachers receiving the first level of training. And I have to, if you don't mind, go back to my notes and tell you how many teachers have had the second level of training. Okay, an additional 1,400 teachers receive the second level. So the initial getting started training is going to be the same for any new curriculum. That's where they provide you an overview of the curriculum. That's where they provide you with a walkthrough how you use the resources. They provide you with what are the instructional strategies and pieces that you have to use on a regular basis to establish those routines with your student and identify where you can find additional resources. So we are I'll be able to provide specifics a little later, but we are very close to 100% of our teachers having received that for the curriculum that they are going to start. The second level of training was called Prioritize Pacing and Planning Instruction. And so that is the one where teachers, given the instructional material, had to look and they had an opportunity to identify how do you prioritize objectives, how do you make sure that you stay on pace, because part of curricular implementation with fidelity is making sure that you stay on pace so that the students have what they need in order to demonstrate mastery when it comes time for the assessment, and then how to plan those lessons using the specific curriculum.
With your new weapons system that you're going to be implemented in Baltimore County schools, two questions. Have you seen an increase of kids bringing weapons to school? If so, how is this going to make it any different from what the current policy or SOR officers do?
So I would have to go back to data about whether or not we've seen an increase. I can tell you over the last 3 years, certainly there's been an increase across, schools and systems. What this system does is it helps us to provide an emergency response right away. So in the unfortunate circumstance, if someone makes a poor decision and they're pulling out a weapon or they're pulling out a weapon, it immediately contacts us to law enforcement and support. Some of what the research has shown is in a lot of cases when there have been horrific instances, every second and every minute counts. And you have people who are either frozen in the moment or you have people who assume someone else has called 911. And so this system allows us not to make any assumptions about who has called, and it also allows us to connect with our emergency response professionals right away to support our students. So the system is monitored by the company, as well as for every school, you'll be able to designate specific people who would receive an alert if something would happen.
Would that be the SOR officers that are assigned to each one of these county schools?
So it could be an SRO, could also be safety assistance that we have. Administration would be a part of the notification, as well as front office staff who would need to have critical information for communication. No, this is not like a metal detector. Yeah, this is if there's imminent threat. Yes.
I know that last year there were some reports of fights in schools. I know that it was a concern for obviously parents and even students themselves. With some of these new systems, do you anticipate that will help preventing fights, or is there anything specifically that you guys are doing to address those concerns?
So thank you for that question. We are hopeful that our students will make good choices. However, if a fight occurs or when a fight occurs, we are prepared to respond. One of the changes that we've made, particularly based on our data for secondary schools in terms of changing the category for fighting in schools, principals have shared with us and family members and students that one of the most disruptive behaviors is fighting in schools. It creates a sense where people do not feel safe in schools. And so across schools, we're going to be consistent in terms of implementing the consequences that we have written in terms of our policies. We're going to respond quickly, and we're going to make sure that, we're keeping schools as safe as possible. So it's our hope that coupled with the supports that we're providing, the additional mental health supports for students, the additional resources for families, that we'll all be working in the same direction to make better choices. But in case different choices are made, we will respond quickly to make sure our schools are safe.
Kind of similar to that question, but a little bit more broad. So last school year, when county council members called for your predecessor's resignation, they cited certain issues like violent incidents, declining grades, teacher turnover. Are you confident in your ability to address those issues that plagued past superintendents?
I am confident in Team BCPS's commitment and ability to move forward in a positive way. Absolutely. Everyone is committed. They're all in. I can't begin to describe the amount of work that I've seen over this summer. People are invigorated. They are working hard. They're committed to the work. We have full support of the Board of Education as well as all of our lawmaker partners and our families, and we're committed to being open and honest and doing our very best and, examining our practices and how well implementation is going. And if something is not going as intended, we're going to course correct. We're not afraid to say this was the plan. However, it's not working as intended, and so we need to make a shift and say it out loud. This is what we're making a shift in, and this is the reason why. So I am confident in our ability to work together and move Baltimore County Public Schools forward.
To kind of go back to conflicts in schools and speaking to parents and other superintendents throughout the state, it sounds like a lot of conflicts start outside of school and on social media. So just your approach to tackling social media, whether that's monitoring, or how are you planning to handle that as things evolve, obviously, in this new age?
Yes, in this new age, as you know, social media and cell phones are all over the place with our students. Absolutely, we have some software that helps us to monitor and filter out some content, but we also have a cell phone policy. And so one of the things that we talked about this summer with our principals, and actually throughout the spring, our principals gave us feedback on our data, cell phone use in schools and how that has impacted some of the behavior concerns. And so our principals were part of stakeholder groups that gave specific feedbacks as to what steps we need to take across Team BCPS in terms of applying the policy that we already have written for cell phone use. And so our first step is to implement our policy as written to be consistent across the school system. We also have in some of our schools, our alternative schools, and just some other schools where the cell phone temptation just seems to be too great for some of our students. We have already used some yonder bags in those schools, and we are planning middle schools based on our data to provide our principals with a certain number of yonder bags for the high-flying students where the temptation of that phone is just too great to not use it. And for the group, what those bags are, those are cases where you put your phone away, you're not using them. There's a case in the morning, you could take it with you throughout the day, unlock it at the end of the day, but in case there's an emergency, there is a way to puncture through the bag so that every student has the access that they need if for some reason that there was an extreme emergency. So our number one thing that we're going to do is to be consistent and implement the policy as written and hold ourselves accountable.
Is that a new policy? Because, it's been a while since I've been in high school, but it sounds like students can now use phones across the state in school. So is that a new policy that you guys have?
It is not a new policy. Students are not allowed to use phones during instructional time unless a teacher for a specific activity is asking them to do that. So in some schools, students are allowed to use phones before school. They're allowed to use them during lunch. And after school, probably in high schools, most of the time they're allowed to use them during passing time, but during instructional time, we need all of our students to focus on instruction.
One last question. Okay.
The 2020 cyber attack, is there any lingering problems from that still?
Well, the people who are working in operations would tell you that they are, having to do a lot of work to make sure that we remain operational. Some systems that, no longer existed caused us to create some workarounds where people have to go to more than one system. But I will focus on the fact that the Board of Education passed a huge contract for us to get a new enterprise resource planning system. And so that happened in July. We're moving forward with that. Full implementation, you should expect to see that within 18 to 24 months. Tune into the board meetings. We'll give regular updates in terms of where we're going. And so people are encouraged that we're going to fully implement a new program with high quality data integrity across all systems, human resources, budgeting, as well as, I'm missing one area, human resources, budgeting, payroll, and IT. How could I miss that? Those are our 4 top areas, and so everything we do starts with data, so having a high-quality program and a high-quality vendor that this is what they do for systems much larger than ours and companies has us very encouraged and hopeful, and so we started that work this summer and will continue.
How fired up are you?
I'm excited. I can't wait. Thank you.
So that concludes our press conference. Thank you all so much for your time, for joining us. We are excited for the first day of school. I'm sure we'll see many of you as we visit schools that morning, and we're wishing everyone a great school year. Thank you so much and have a great day.